We are back for episode 97 of the Auld Triangle podcast. New year, same podcasts, same posts. Andy Stevenson, Caoilte, Barra, and myself, Ian O'Neill. And what we normally do is talk about the most recent events in Irish mixed martial arts. I guess we will talk about Will Fleury, his big win as well, but we're going to take an overall view of the year 2025 as we start the year 2026. For Irish mixed martial arts, it was a mixed bag of a year for a lot of the athletes. I guess we were talking, boys, about some of the standout guys and some of the most successful year that some of the Irish stars have had. In Gary, Paul, Hughes, obviously Will Fleury with his big win as well, amongst others. Before we get into it, everybody, I guess I have to ask the boys, how's things? Any New Year's resolutions? Are you keeping well, Andy?
Happy New Year. No New Year's resolutions, but feeling rejuvenated, refreshed. Had a good Christmas, went to the States, got a bit of snow. And yeah, back ready to go. Back for 2026.
We'll get to this. I know you have a snow story, Andy. I'll get to you now in just a minute. Caoilte, you're keeping well. How are you doing?
Flin Vivasha. Yeah, all good. Nice quiet Christmas, chill out with the dog, go down to the beach, as I was saying the last time, for Christmas Day, and then a trip down to Dingle to finish off the year.
You're down the sticks there, hey?
And Andy's neck of the woods down in Castle Gregory.
That's it. Best place in Ireland.
Tell you what, it's not bad now. I can't lie, I enjoyed it.
Creamy pints down there, I'd say.
Cheap as well,
Lovely.
They're a different breed down there, though. I've never seen a pub like
those plans.
Yeah. Oh, no, Asplans. No, the other one. The one in the centre.
Oh, missing out. Asplans is a great spot. I was listening to you speaking Irish there, and I realised I actually do have a New Year's resolution. 6-day streak on Duolingo right now, learning Irish.
Give us a bit.
So you'd be proud of me.
Give us a bit there, Andy.
And Colleen Agus an Buchel.
There you go. I love it. Absolutely. Poetic.
Coming to a
Banya.
You were over in my neck of the woods, Andy, for the holiday period over in North America. You experienced a bit of snow.
I made it in and out. Didn't get shot, so that was a good start, which was great. But I did have a lovely white. I wouldn't say white Christmas, but see, I go over there as an Irishman, and I'm like, I love snow because we never get it, and love the novelty of it. Class. My wife's lovely family don't like it because they're like, we have to shovel this shit and all the rest. And so, I'll make a fool of myself here. So it snows very lightly on Christmas Eve, doesn't snow really Christmas Day, and then it comes down on Stephen's Day, and they're like, fuck, like, it's snowing. And I'm like, this is fantastic. And they're like, right, well, you can shovel in the morning. And I'm like, no problem. I will do that. I'll put the team on my back, shovel the yard. So I get up the next morning, and my lovely mother-in-law, who she's fantastic, I'm there trying to impress her. Basically, they're saying just shovel the little bit there, like just to get enough to get the cars out. I'm like, no, I'm doing the full whack here. So I spend 45 minutes out there, do a good job, and then I go to put the icing on the cake, and pick up the squeegee and go to do her car, and I use the squeegee once, and I'm like, that's a very fine line of snow. It looks like almost like a different kind of line left there on her bonnet. And then I walk up closer to it, and this is a lovely, beautiful Cadillac. And I squeezed the absolute shit out of her bonnet.
Oh, no.
To say the arse fell out of me immediately would be an understatement. Because it was, if you'd see me, I dropped the squeegee thing. Hands went straight to the head, and then it was just a case of, right, I gotta march myself in there and face the heat, and thankfully she's a fantastic woman. She was nothing but kind to me. She even tried to take the blame herself, which I don't think I can really let her do. This was on me.
What happened? You picked up the squeegee and there was a stone or a rock in the squeegee.
I think that maybe there was usually a brush used, like a light brush for the car or whatever. Didn't use that. But look, win or learn, as John Campbell says, right?
As a snow removal expert now, having lived in Saskatoon where we get snow for about 5 or 6 months every year, yeah, it's always the brush. Always the brush on the bonnet. That's
What I think it was is, I think there was like a, because I even checked it. I was like, right, I'm about to put this on our car. Make sure I don't do this wrong. That's the squeegee end. This is the other end. Use the squeegee end. But I think there must have been like something on the underside that just.
It might have been, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so expensive Christmas.
Nightmare scenario. Oh my god. That's like kind of something like out of a Christmas holiday movie, isn't it?
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah. Oh my god.
The last day I was there as well. So then I went. She drove us to the airport in the car. Then later on, I was like, oh god.
Oh my god.
See you next year.
What was the thoughts running through your head when you're walking inside doing the walk?
Just fuck my life. Just absolutely shitting myself. You are an idiot, Andy. You are a fucking idiot, Andy. And rightly so. I think, I mean, you know. And you know what? I did such a good job. I shoveled so well. It was pristine. And then that just doesn't matter.
That's it. No, you just undid all the hard work there. Moment of madness by Andy Stevenson.
But anyway, how was your Christmas, guys?
Everything was good. I had my parents over here. They enjoyed the snow, they enjoyed the cold weather, and I had a couple of weeks off work. It was a grand old break. I ate way too much Roses and Quality Street and Heroes, and then my parents brought over loads of bags of potato. Sure, I was eating potato sandwiches out the yard. The turkey we got for the dinner was lovely. Absolute, and I have to say, absolute scenes at the dinner table in my house on Christmas. I ate Brussels sprouts for the very first time, lads.
Ooh.
Yeah, very first time. Yeah. I was a notorious picky eater when I was younger now, so parents' mind was blown.
What was the entry point? Was a bit of sauce on there, a bit of cheese?
I can't take any credit for the cooking of it now. It was my father did the cooking. What he did was boiled them, then put them on the pan, and then he cut up pieces of rasher bacon.
Oh, it's
put them in it, and then Jesus, it was absolutely delicious now. So I was horsing them into me. So as a lad now that would whose green intake would consist of garden peas for many years, I'm broadening horizons here now. I'm blowing the parents' mind, getting older.
Are you impressed by that? I mean,
as a vegetarian, as a vegan, you don't like Brussels sprouts over there.
Don't pay me with the vegan brush now. I'll stick a vegetarian.
Oh, vegetarian. Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
No, I don't like Brussels sprouts. I don't know how. Nah, that's a chance. Never for me at Christmas. I always it was
veg is how it's cooked, isn't it? You know, a simple old boil doesn't really.
Yeah. So Ian's entry point to veg was meat.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But anyway, I digress. We've started the last two podcasts now talking about Christmas dinner, so let's start talking about a few fights, shall we? Let's start talking about, I guess, big years, and no bigger, I think, for Irish mixed martial arts at the highest level than the SevereMMA Irish Pro Fighter of the Year, Ian Garry, who went 2-0 for the year 2025. Two really good wins in April. Took the Carlos Prates fight on short notice, and won a decision against the Brazilian prospect. A win that has definitely aged gracefully as 2025 kind of played out. That got him a opportunity to fight Bilal Muhammad in Qatar. Obviously Bilal Muhammad coming in number 2 in the world, former UFC welterweight champion too. So a nice feather in the cap when Ian Garry went out and won that fight rather impressively too. His record now is 17-1. He's in prime position, Andy, for a title shot in 2026. And I guess I'll bring that to you, just kind of a thoughts on how the year went for Ian Garry and how we maybe expect it to go in 2026. He's right at the pinnacle of the sport now. He's right at the top of the division, and he has an opportunity to take the number 1 pound for pound fighter on the planet on right now to try and take his title. I mean, for a guy like Ian Garry, who always tried to manifest his future, always said that he was going to be fighting in these big fights, has fought in some pretty big fights, but the one against a potential fight against Islam Makhachev would be absolutely massive. And for him, obviously, the opportunity to beat the pound for pound best fighter on the planet too, would give him a great deal of satisfaction as well.
It'd be huge. I mean, Ian Garry is primed. He's taking Irish MMA to heights we haven't been to in about a decade now. When you think back to at the end of 2024, he had just suffered that loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov. And at the time, we kind of said that even though there was a space of kind of a couple of months, and we'll maybe talk about this later on, where there was a couple of Irish fighters, Ian and Paul, who had lost, but they had almost captured the narrative or the imagination or whatever you want to call it. They'd won through losing in a way, and Ian springboarded into 2025. Obviously, he was originally scheduled to be facing Joaquin Buckley in a main event slot. If you recall, then they needed someone to step in on short notice. He did it, as he always does. Came in against Carlos Prates, dominated him for 4 rounds. And okay, yeah, it was a kind of a risky 5th round there where Prates had a lot of great success. But when you look back on that win now, when you see what Prates has gone and done, and sparkingly on Eldridge, like that win has already, in the space of 6 months, aged tremendously. He then, I think he went, was it after that when he went to Canada up where he was the backup for was it Bilal and JDM?
That was at the Montreal event. I was at that and myself. So a very smart move, I think, wasn't it, overall, lads, for him to kind of ingrain himself into that conversation. Then I know from asking questions personally about Ian Garry on that event that Bilal Muhammad was massively pissed off, and his name got brought up because obviously he took the spotlight away from him, didn't it?
He did a great job of that all year, because he made it about him. He was making his kid go up and try to give JDM M&Ms or Smarties or whatever it was, just keeping his name in the mix, always kind of being front and center. And then obviously once Bilal loses the title, okay, Ian doesn't get the title shot, but he gets to face a former champion fresh off of losing the title. Biggest fight of his career, and to go in there, to do what he did, to absolutely just shut out Bilal Muhammad essentially. Again, people can say, okay, he's not getting the finishes, but when you look at this from a sporting perspective, he's gone out here and he's beaten Jeff Neal, and then he's beaten MVP. And then, okay, he has lost Shavkat. He goes in, he beats Carlos Prates, he beats Bilal Muhammad. Like, these are all really solid wins on his record. And it doesn't hurt him as well to have the moments like he did, like we were just talking about there, putting himself front and center. He has that moment with Hamzat Chimaev, one of the most famous, fighters in the sport today. And that sends him viral again. And now he's going into 2026 where, okay, there's a lot of competitors out there that are going to be vying for that next title shot whenever it may come, but Ian Garry has just as good a chance from a sporting perspective, from a marketability perspective, as anyone in the division, in my opinion. And I think if I was to guess, this whole kerfuffle over the Christmas break and New Year's around Michael Morales' record, if I'm Ian Garry, I'm jumping all over that to start putting holes in his chances of getting the title shot. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him do that next.
Yeah, indeed. It'll be very, very interesting. In terms of, obviously, we're going to speak about Paul Hughes in a couple of moments, obviously Will Fleury as well. In terms of, Caoilte, the Irish Pro Fighter of the Year, I did see a couple of comments where, a couple of people out there did feel maybe Will Fleury could have done enough to take it, and it was very, very close as well. But I think you have to remember the magnitude of the wins that Ian Garry had here against a guy like Carlos Prates, one of the most dangerous guys in the division, and a former champion and number 2 ranked athlete in the welterweight division in Bilal Muhammad too. It's going to be very, very hard to kind of, as any other fighter, to kind of topple that too. You're right up at the elite level status when it comes to mixed martial arts with those kind of wins, aren't you?
Yeah, completely. I actually like that that people are able to make these arguments, because it shows that Irish MMA is in such a strong spot, and we're not just focusing on one person in one organization doing well. We've got 3. In this case, we're speaking of 2 that were maybe the front runners for the award. But like, when you look at the magnitude of wins, I guess if you're looking at the argument for Ian Garry, the magnitude of the wins, the names, the level, like the fact that Bilal Muhammad was a former UFC champion, it's huge, and how Carlos Prates has kind of developed since that lost to Ian Gary as well, how that's aged so well. It's hard to overlook those things. And the level, how high level the fights were, I think people could look at it and take in consideration that, maybe he didn't get finishes, but it doesn't matter. He performed so well and showed all aspects in his game in both of those fights, and just had such a strong year that put him in contention for a title shot next year. It was such an amazing year for him, and it's hard to argue it, but you could make an argument, and I like that you can, because someone like when Will Fleury goes out and beats someone like Martin Buday, going out and doing that, and in the fashion that he did, it's incredible. But I personally, I can see an argument that could be made, but I would still be leaning towards the Ian Gary side, and just what he did this year and the magnitude of it, how important it could be for Irish MMA, his career, the future of the welterweight division. Unbelievable overall. But overall Irish MMA has had a good year overall, I think.
Big time. And the last thing on maybe Ian Gary for 2026, would you be surprised if Ian Gary didn't fight for a title in 2026?
100%. Would I be surprised if he didn't fight for a title next? I wouldn't be, but it's a long year. Ian fights pretty frequently. I would be very surprised if we didn't see him. Now, obviously, the results have to go his way.
Yeah, me too. And I think it's also down to the champion too, right? It's down to Islam Makhachev and how often he wants to fight, because he doesn't turn around too often either. I would be surprised, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility too, sadly enough. And I definitely think we'll see Ian Gary fight sometime in the first quarter of the year. Will it be for a title shot? I'm not too sure. I think you're not too sure either, Andy.
Do you know what though? I think he's got a very good chance. I really do, because with Shavkat, it's kind of unknown as to when he'll be back. I keep forgetting about this fucking Usman or Magomed.
They're going to do Usman. They're going to do Usman.
I forgot. I pleasantly forgot about that situation for a bit, but
sad, but that's likely what they're going to do.
That's probably what they're going to do. So who does he fight? Do we think?
For me, he fights Michael Morales. Yeah, Michael Morales.
Yeah.
That's like what you said was absolutely perfect. It's like, okay, there was doubts about his undefeated record. I'll make sure that there's no doubts about his undefeated record after I fight him and beat him. It's the perfect promo there.
What a fight as well. And that is like, you cannot deny him. If he goes out and beats Michael Morales, you can't deny him.
Yeah.
UFC will probably try it anyway, but you can't deny it.
Indeed.
Considering the state of the UFC and just the sport in some ways at the minute, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up fighting for not the undisputed title, but an interim title, if there is a long waiting period between Islam defending the belt, that they just throw it out there like they've done in a couple of cases at this point. I wouldn't be surprised.
Not the worst call, that. Not the worst call at all. Look, we mentioned Will Fleury already. Let's kind of move on and speak about his year. Fantastic year for him too. Obviously, light heavyweight champion coming into 2025, picked up the heavyweight title and then defended it massively against Martin Buday on the 28th of December in what was one of the standout performances of the year from an Irish fighter. Obviously we spoke with Will, Andy, on the last episode of the Auld Triangle. He spoke about the magnitude of this fight, how this fight, gives him the ability to be able to prove his skill set, and prove to himself too that all the hard work and dedication that he's put in through the years, has paid off. And you need opponents like this to be able to prove it. I did like Will's chances in this fight, but I was absolutely gobsmacked as to how easy he made it happen and how good he looked when he was doing it as well. I mean, so light on his feet, and his boxing was silky smooth. Caught the leg and landed a monster overhand, which was the beginning and the end of the fight as well. I mean, it was a tremendous performance, and we'll talk about Paul Hughes next. Obviously, had a great fight to kick off the year. It was on the wrong side of it, but to finish the year for Irish mixed martial arts, when there's nobody, I think, you know what the good thing about it was, there was no other MMA on at that time. So like there was a focus of attention on Will Fleury for a couple of days in world mixed martial arts, and rightly so, because it was an absolutely tremendous performance.
You look class. Will has just done a fantastic job ever since he's been in Octagon. Like, this has been a perfect pairing for both Will and the promotion, and he keeps going in here. He keeps beating the hometown guy. I mean, like, it seemed like this was the ultimate, you know, the prodigal son has returned. Martin Boudet, a former Octagon champion, goes off to the UFC, goes 7-1. I believe he was ranked as high as 12th in the promotion, but, you know, probably would have, you know, given the trajectory that he was on course to getting, you know, top 10, top 5, and then you never know from there. But a really, really promising fighter, a really, really impressive fighter, and Will just dispatched him as if he was nothing. Like, he just obliterated him. He looked so much quicker. I think it's very interesting to see Will now fighting at heavyweight. I really didn't like the idea of Will going up to heavyweight at first. I just thought it was maybe unnecessary, and I was wrong, because I think he possesses a speed advantage. He has the power, and he has the skill set to really put these guys away and to do it quickly. And it was the quickness. I mean, it was, you know, again, we will talk about Paul Hughes and a technique that he used, and it was a slightly different one for Will, but he catches the kick and just detonates an absolute bomb on Boudet's chin. And he did well to survive there for a little bit, but Will just completely poured it on. Like, he looks, when he's fighting these guys, he just looks so much quicker. His ability to throw in volume, I think, is a huge advantage for him. And like, when I look at you know, so we've said this, I kind of feel like we've said this already, where I think Octagon have, you know, he doesn't have the title defenses, but the kind of their version of like a Phil DeFries at the moment with Will. They're going to run out of options at some point, but I do like that Will is one, just kind of saying anyone who they want next, he'll fight them. I like that he's kind of like the not the bad boy, but like there seems to be a little bit of friction between him and the promotion as well, or at least one of the promoters, perhaps. You know, where I don't know, I like it. Will just he demands what he wants. He calls a shot, and he doesn't allow them. So when they bring in a hometown guy or the next big prospect or whatever it may be to usurp Will as the champion, he just says, "Yeah, Braun, bring him on, and I'm going to shut them up as well." And then maybe, you know, we could talk this about in a minute, but Will said to us he's not ruling out UFC, and 100%. You know, do we see a move for Will to the UFC now? And again, like, you kind of have to bring this up every time. He did previously fail a drugs test. Octagon are bringing in a drugs test, in which who knows what that will look like. Who knows, you know, how that'll affect the roster as a whole. And the question that Will be able to answer if he does sign with the UFC is to go and pass that and then go in. But when you look at their roster, like Mick Parkin, Tai Tuivasa, Marcin Tybura, Shamil Gaziev, like, I'd pick Will Fleury over any of them, to be honest.
Even at light heavyweight as well. Like, I mean, look at, even though Will, you know, does have that test history, it wouldn't be the first time that UFC have signed anybody or given anybody.
No, definitely. I don't think it stops him signing.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a stumbling. I'm not saying that you were saying it either, just getting it out there. I don't think, because I did see a lot of comments online after that win too. Like, when I mentioned the UFC, it was like, "Oh, there's no way he's going to go to the UFC after that." Well, I mean, you know, you're not watching closely enough, guys, I don't think, as to what the UFC are doing when it comes to that kind of stuff. But Caoilte, your thoughts on Will's performance and maybe what is next for him? What do you think should happen, will happen? I think, you know, he's keeping these options open, obviously, with a couple of fights in Octagon, as Andy said. But you know, that UFC opportunity could be dangling over his head, and he did mention that the last time too. But curious to hear what your thoughts on how things unfolded overall.
With the performance itself, it was flawless. Like, it did take me by surprise of just how good that performance was. As Andy mentioned, how light he was on the feet, how he picked his shots, his movement, the speed. It was really, really impressive. And I sent it to you guys straight after. The casualness of the catch, the kick, and then to land back was just sublime. I was like, I had hands on my head when he did it, because I love the technique. I love when it's used in fights, and when it's done so casually, it looks so beautiful. Because it's not, I'm trying to find a different word than casually, but he makes it look so easy and so perfect that I loved that moment in the build up to the actual finish of the fight. So yeah,
it's kind of like he was in the state of flow, wasn't it?
Exactly. He was. I think that's the best way of putting it. And the way he looked and the movement, it all clicked. That first round, that fight, it all clicked for him. And it was great to see for him, to upset the odds like that. And probably so many people ruled him out, I imagine. And he was the outsider coming into the promotion, and then to do that, incredible. So top-notch performance. And I guess with what's next, options galore, really, depending on what Octagon want to do. If they want to try and get him to defend the light heavyweight belt. I know they got someone in the cage afterwards. The name escapes me.
It was Daniel Spohr who Fleury beat. I think it was in his Octagon debut, and I didn't think that he looked like he wanted that fight at all. If I'm honest with you, he didn't look too keen on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame the man either. In fairness, like, geez, but I think
you're not going to see for that one again now, really.
And I think for Will Quilty as well, he, at this stage of his career too, he probably wants something fresh as well, a fresh opponent. What does he gain about going in there and beating a guy that he beat already too? That begs the question as well, I guess. But I think
UFC would be, I think, the ideal route, and obviously, like Andy's mentioned already, in that sense, with the drug test, shutting people up by passing a test and going into the UFC, it would be, that would be massive, and it would be great to see another Irish fighter in there. I think he'd be actually perfect for them, and he's exactly what they're looking for. Finishing Martin Boudet, who's just left the UFC like that, is kind of it'd be hard for them not to look at him and think he could be a good addition to the roster. I guess it was maybe not out of the realms of possibility. I do believe it's one of those that the money would have to be right for it to happen. Phil DeFries and Will Fleury, I'd love it personally. KSW versus Octagon, heavyweight, clash of the heavyweight titans. I think it'd be phenomenal. Ireland versus the UK. Look, there's so many storylines you can add to it. I would love that fight if I was to pick anything else that's not the UFC, to be honest. But yeah.
That would be a tasty one. Would be a tasty one indeed. Will be interesting to see what happens for the tip man. Great year for tip sport, lads. I hate to say it as a Kilkenny man, but great year for tip sport, and onwards and upwards into 2026 for Will Fleury.
Was it an ad for Octagon there? Tip sport.
Hey.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to Paul Hughes. Kind of the third fighter we wanted to highlight before we kind of maybe talk about the best of the rest. Andy started off the year obviously with the title shot against Nurmagomedov, and it was a fantastic fight. He went on to win our SevereMMA fight of the year, and rightly so. I think when we were having that conversation, we were kind of getting sucked into maybe other things as well, and you kind of forget how good the first fight was, because obviously how the second fight played out, and it left a bitter taste in everybody's mouth as well. And Paul Hughes' 2025 wasn't defined by those two Nurmagomedov fights. I think it was defined by a dream that he got to live in Belfast when he walked out there and took out Bruno Miranda with absolute ease, and lived a dream, manifested a dream, as he said, and a massive occasion. You were obviously up there as well for that fight, and if you could encapsulate the 2025 for Paul Hughes, how would you describe it in your own words?
I mean, what a year for him. Despite going 1-2, an incredible year for Paul Hughes. I feel like he captured the hearts and imaginations of Irish MMA fans in 2025. Like he entered Bellator or PFL. Obviously the Bobby King fight the previous year, and the AJ McKee fight, and before the AJ McKee fight, it was there's too much too soon. Was the question mark, I suppose, around Paul, and then from there, he announces himself and springboards directly into the title shot. So he enters at the start of the year. The year felt so long for Paul Hughes. I'd say, like, he starts the year in January. it just, there's momentum starts to build. Remember, there was the skirmish at the weigh-ins for the first fight where there was kind of the Ireland versus Dagestan. They were big in that uploads. Obviously, a fight for the ages. You have the iconic image of the blood coming down Hughes's face as he's standing there, like just the happiest man in the world, it seems. Obviously, all of the McGregor stuff after the fact that happened, with Hughes being caught on camera, just saying, I'm not like that other guy. That whole thing of his identity being called into question, and then that kind of dominated the talking points around him. Was that for a couple of months, where his identity was called into question, and then we find, there's the talk of the rematch. Will it happen? Won't it happen? It doesn't happen. But I actually think it was better that way in the end, that it didn't, because it allowed Paul to get this homecoming in Belfast where he could be embraced by his people, where we have that magic moment with Foy Vance walking him out, singing Grace. He goes into the cage, and I thought it was pretty funny. I can't remember, it might have been Sean put the Fleury and the Paul Hughes finishes side by side. And Will was kind of like, he's just obviously joking around. Like, he's like, my lad spun around.
Yeah, that's funny.
And I suppose what Paul Hughes could retort is that, Paul Hughes did it with the same hand. Such an incredible. It was the very first shot that he threw of the fight. It was a perfect performance against Bruno Miranda. And okay, you can say, this isn't the top quality opposition in the entire world, but a very experienced guy, and a guy that got him back to the Usman Nurmagomedov fight, because it gave him that moment. He takes him out in as clean a fashion as he possibly can, and then he delivers on the microphone after, thus setting up, the rematch again in Dubai. And again, a fight for the ages towards the end of the year. Again, the result doesn't go his way. And from a sporting perspective, it's a low for Hughes. But it also just feels like it's the end of a chapter of a longer book, where Hughes in the aftermath is saying, he's kind of going into hibernation mode, it seems, and he's refining his craft, and he's going to right the wrongs. And now he's telling us he wants to be the best pound for pound fighter at 155 in the entire world. And to me, what that means is that Paul Hughes at some point, may not be his next fight, might not be the fight after that, but we will have to see Paul Hughes in the UFC, because if that's his lofty aspirations, and fair play to him, and as he should, because he's proven himself in 2025 that he is one of the best lightweights in the world, in my opinion, despite coming away with 2 losses against Usman Nurmagomedov. But he's going to have to regroup now, and there's going to be young, hungry fighters that are coming for him in the promotion, in PFL, that the likes of Archie Colgan, the likes of Patrick Abirora, and we're probably going to see him fighting some of these guys, because he's going to have to keep his spot now that he's taken a couple of losses. He's not going to be in the title fight, and we're going to see a new flavour to Paul Hughes. So to me, to encapsulate the entire year, is that a long year for Paul Hughes, a trying year, but one that has asserted himself despite losing at the forefront of world mixed martial arts. And it really does set him up for another big year in 2026, despite the losses.
Indeed, yeah. It's going to be very interesting at King Caoilte to see what does happen next. Obviously, I think the immediate next fight will likely be with the PFL, but I couldn't agree more on what Andy said. As a guy myself who, when Paul was a free agent coming out of Cage Warriors, really wanted to see him go into the UFC and prove himself against the very best. Maybe somewhat doubted his decision to go to PFL. I think that decision did prove like it was, he proved to everybody that was the right decision to make. Obviously more from the financial side of things for sure. He would be a better equipped than he would have been going into the UFC, but also getting those high level fights and how quickly he got into those high level fights. I think something that I didn't see, like what Andy mentioned, was the fact that he just propelled himself into the elite level of the lightweight division in the PFL, and how successful he was there as well. It's going to be very exciting to see how far he can bring it maybe next year in the PFL, or where he goes if it is to the UFC. Would you be kind of singing the same song as Andy and myself there, and hoping that, we would see Paul inside the UFC octagon sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think I think how he's managed his career, it's a testament to himself and the people around him, how he's managed his career to date and the decision making that he's done to I guess, negotiate a way of earning a certain amount of money that is extremely positive for him, his life, his career, and that will allow him to become the best version of himself. But also the way he's handled himself inside the PFL to become a star and manage his career that way has been sensational. So I think he's the only one who knows what he's going to really do next. I trust that he would make the right decision because he's been fantastic in doing them so far and the way he's done it. What I'd like to see, I think Usman Nurmagomedov does go to the UFC first. I would like to, if there is one or two more opportunities in the PFL for Paul, I would like to see him take that belt. I know Alfie Davis is probably going to fight Nurmagomedov. I do think after that, once Paul Hughes is a win or two, I'd love to see him pick up that belt, cement his spot at the top, and then move on to the UFC. But I don't know if it's the immediate thing that could happen. I do think it'd be a case where a win or two would be required. But I think it's potentially this year. I do think I'd like to see him in the UFC because I think he'd be straight in the mix with some big names just from how he's propelled to this massive star in the PFL through the fights with Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, like I think, look, in terms of title fights within the PFL right now, I think a title fight for Paul in there is only going to happen if Nurmagomedov moves over to the UFC because how reluctant he was to take that second fight, self-proclaimed easy win in the second fight for Nurmagomedov. It wasn't an easy win at all. I think that, there was a lot of controversy surrounding that fight. I think on the night I did score it for Paul. Many people scored it for Paul. You obviously had the joke of a card, which was a 50-45. You had the couple of discrepancies that happened with the fouls throughout the fight as well. I struggle to see Nurmagomedov giving Paul that third opportunity at the belt. So I'd be very curious what a story it would be if both Nurmagomedov and Hughes moved over to UFC, fought their way up to the very top in the elite, and it's not beyond the realms of possibility. Obviously, there's a big dog at the top of that division in Italy at Taporia as well. We've seen some training footage of Paul and Ilya moving around. I believe it was over in that Miami gym that I can't think of that Ian Gary trained out for a while.
Henry Hoof's gym, Killcliff.
Killcliff, yeah. So, those are the kind of experiences that Paul's looking for, and he truly belongs there too, guys, doesn't he? Like, it'd feel wrong if it was. I think at max, if Paul, maybe fights his contract out in 2026 in the PFL, it'd be almost wrong after that if he wasn't competing in the UFC, in my eyes, because I don't know if there's anything else that he needs to prove within the PFL right now.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about experiences as well. Like, I feel like it has to be said, like, Paul's decision to go with the PFL is always framed around money, I feel like, and I understand it as well, why it is, and that is a factor in it. He's told us that, but I think it must be said as well, like, from a PFL perspective, who we will have no problem sticking the boot in deservedly when needed. But I think they actually deserve a lot of credit here because, like, the experience that PFL have provided to Hughes from a sporting perspective, like, no disrespect at all to the likes of Jordan Vucenic or Morgan Charrier or whatever, but he has received a step up in competition against the likes of AJ McKee and Usman Nurmagomedov, where he's now fighting world-class fighters in a live MMA environment. It's not just sparring, it's not in the gym. This is an actual fight where there's thousands of fans in the arena watching him. And I think that really will stand to him. And I know these are two wildly different things, but, like, those type of fights, like the two Nurmagomedov fights, have propelled him to such a different level now, where at the 100%. Start of the year, we talked about it, and it's something completely different. It was the Irish fans that completely rallied around behind him over the identity stuff, over the McGregor, comments, etc. Yeah. But by the end of the year, it was from a sporting perspective, the world was rallying around him because of the 50-45 scorecard, because of the controversy around who won the fight. And, like, that's a huge jump that Paul Hughes has now taken it from a sporting perspective, and also from, announcing himself to the world stage and people rallying behind him. And to have that now potentially going to the UFC at a later date, if that does happen, that's a huge amount of experience that will stand to him to going in there rather than going in straight off the jump from Cage Warriors to UFC.
100%. I couldn't have said it better myself. I think, look, they definitely ticked off that box from, career trajectory, but also from a level of milestone too. That if you had went to the UFC, there's no way he's headlining a show in Belfast either. There's no way he's going to be able to take that off his box yet. Does he get to a stage in the UFC where maybe possibly could happen a year or two? But
probably not. Probably not.
No, because
unless they start paying them some money.
Yeah, I don't.
Side fees,
Yeah, I don't think that honestly the UFC are interested in holding an event in an arena that's less than 20,000 capacity now at this stage too. That's the kind of
unless they're paying them to do it.
Unless they're, but even those 20,000 stadiums are paying them to do it too. Those site fees do exist. So, to go in there and do it in, less than a year and a half after signing for a promotion too. You have to give the PFL all the credit in the world for propelling Paul into the status that this year was truly a breakout year where Paul didn't become known just on the Irish and European mixed martial arts scene, but Paul is now recognized on the world mixed martial arts scene, and rightfully so, because that's where he belongs. And it's going to be a very, very exciting future. I'm genuinely excited to see the ceilings that he can hit, the level he can get to, and how many amazing big fights that he's going to be involved in from now until the day he decides to hang up the gloves. We're lucky to be a part of it as people covering Irish mixed martial arts, but take that hat off as just a fan of good fighters and great fighters, I should say. It's very, very exciting too as well. So I guess those are the big three, Andy. I guess if we were to look at some of the best of the rest, maybe a mixed bag for some of the Irish fighters. I think in the UFC, Sean O'Bannon going 1-1, having that amazing comeback from behind win against Pooja Tumar, winning 50k as well. Great scenes there. Rhys McKee going 1-1. Sadly, Rhys did get released from the UFC in December, I believe it was. He got the news. Galen Loughran going 1-1, deciding not to re-sign for the UFC and moving over to the PFL after his win over Nathan Fletcher. Kiefer Crosby also fought in the UFC, losing that fight, and he parted ways and announced his retirement from mixed martial arts in December as well. A lot to kind of chew on there, Andy. What are your thoughts on that kind of breakdown and how the Irish fighters stand?
As you said, a mixed bag, and I suppose where it leaves us right now in the UFC is for so long there was just this gap of Irish competitors, and then we started to build up kind of a roster of Irish in the UFC, and now we're back down to two again. It's Ian and it's Shauna, right? So Rhys is gone, Caelan's gone, Kiefer's gone. So I think it'll be, and just to touch on each of them, like Shauna went 1-1, but as you said, like that moment where she gets dropped with the head kick and manages to pull out that armbar was sensational. Like up there with one of the comeback submissions of the year, or comebacks of the year. I suppose you could say submission of the year, given from a comeback perspective.
She was officially nominated for UFC comeback of the year.
Yeah,
obviously was rewarded SevereMMA Pro Female Fighter of the Year as well. So a lot of accolades picked up there in 2025 for Sean O'Bannon.
And 50k in the bank as well, most importantly.
50G's, baby. Most important thing of all, I guess.
Yeah, it was great to see Rhys finally get that UFC win. I know he's obviously, not gotten the news he wants. I've been peeled the curtain back with the two of us going back and forth about doing an interview for a while now, and hasn't really lined up. So we may see an interview on SevereMMA in the next little while. But yeah, look, I was delighted to see him finally get that win, because Rhys is a quality fighter. Like, Rhys is a two-time, two-weight champion of both in BAMA, champion in Cage Warriors, one of the most exciting Irish fighters to ever compete, in my opinion. 100% finish rate, and he just couldn't get over the line for so many times in the UFC, and he finally did with that incredible win over Daniel Frunze. As a human being, I loved seeing that for him, because he deserved that win. A fighter of Rhys's caliber, I think it's nice to see them get their just rewards finally. And again, he picked, similar to Sean O'Bannon, picks up his 50k bonus. A man with a young family. Obviously, the next fight was the third round TKO loss to Axel Sola. Controversial stoppage, but I think Sola was probably en route to winning that fight, to be fair, despite Reese having a great previous round. And now I suppose the question is what comes next for Reese. I think he's got a lot left in the tank still, so I expect to see him in another promotion. I have a lot of questions around it, so maybe we'll chat to him and see what he thinks about what could be next. But it's unfortunate to see him part ways, but look, that's just the way it goes. I mean, he's the UFC is a business, and he, to be fair, he got his crack, he got his opportunity, and unfortunately, just it didn't go a different way. And Caoilte Loughran, gonna have to, after a really solid win beating Nathan Fletcher, gonna have to pick himself up again now. I believe he's moved to FAI now for his team, so he's training out of FAI now. So that'll be very interesting to see in 2026. Obviously, he was supposed to fight McGrillen, so I wonder if they'll go and run that one back after it fell through. There's a lot of great fights out there for Caoilte, but and then Kiefer, the loss in China, and it seems he's transitioning more now. It's kind of the influencer boxing or pursuing those types of fights. But it's going to be interesting. I think this is a changing year for the Irish in the UFC. We've loads of fighters that are kind of on the precipice, and a bunch coming behind them. So some will get there, some won't. I'm sure there'll be a filtering process there of some sort, but with the volume of fighters coming through on the professional scene, and I know we'll talk a lot about a bunch of other fighters that have had great 2025s, and we expect to have great 2026s. But the talent is there, and the roster of fighters coming up is there. That I do think that it'll jump up from 2. I would expect relatively quickly. I would be surprised if we didn't see 5 Irish in the UFC by the end of the year, and then hopefully you can build on from there into 2027.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely there. We will talk about a couple of those prospects that have been a Caoilte. I guess I want to kind of maybe give you the opportunity to focus attention on the island of Ireland and what happened on there from a mixed martial arts perspective in 2025. We had 17 events in the north of Ireland, 8 down in the Republic of Ireland. I think 8-6 in reality, was it? I know you put those notes together.
The 8 includes 2 IMAT championships, so they're they're basically behind closed doors gym competitions. So I would kind of classify those as different to your event where you're selling tickets and punters are coming in and all that stuff.
Big time, yeah, I understand. Caoilte, what were your thoughts on what was a difficult year for maybe the regions in the south of the country to put on events? Obviously, we spoke about that a long time ago, but where would we be without all of the action that has taken place in the north of Ireland with all of the different promotions up there doing a fantastic job and keeping fighters busy? And I think when we talk about the development of Irish mixed martial arts in the country, what really fosters that development is putting on these shows, and hopefully we can build upon 2025 and see a couple of more in 2026. What's your thoughts on what happened over the last year?
Yeah, I think it's been a good year. It's been a successful year. It had its busy periods. We're actually going to go into a busy period where I think there's one show every week for nearly
March Madness is coming up soon. It's going to be crazy amount of shows.
It's not just the basketball for March Madness. Jesus, it's going to be chaos when it comes to, I'd say, logistics. But you can see kind of last year carrying over a little bit. I know there's a reduction in shows, and there are times where that reduction of number of shows in the country gets a little bit worrying. I think from 19 to 17 in Northern Ireland, it's not that's much of a muchness, really. I don't think there's anything concerning. It was cool to see the likes of 1 or 2 new promotions come along, Gladiator Era, Wrath, 2 new shows that have come onto the scene, and that's been really positive. And I kind of, they've been hosting pro fights, a lot of the usual shows, Clan Wars or Cage Conflict, Takuma, they've all, they've been just doing what they've been doing all along, solid quality shows, high level amateur fights, some fly some pros in from abroad, and then some have some domestic clashes as well. So overall, it's been a pretty solid year. The downside really in the Republic of Ireland is probably the kind of main thing really here is, we've lost some shows, not really as many happening. Farah's Fighting Championship has come onto the scene, which is good. Elite FC, fantastic that they're doing well. 2 shows based in Cork. I don't believe there was anything in Dublin outside of Cage Warriors in those IMA championships this year. So you can see the gap of not having a Cage Legacy or a Premier down in the Republic of Ireland, because those shows, say what you want about anyone involved or how they're run, or they were pivotal to the scene. I think there were major losses this year to the scene. Like I remember being with you, Ian, and going watching Max Lally and Conor McCarthy. Alex Keogh's on the card as well, I believe it was.
Claire Sullivan.
Star-studded card when you look at the people that have come through these promotions. Shauna Bannon, I remember watching her on Cage Legacy, and loads. Ian Gary, I remember watching him as an amateur on Cage Legacy, for example. You miss these shows because that's a massive gap, and I'm not sure what's going to fill it, if I'm being honest. But I do feel like it needs to be filled by some promotion, if possible. But the opposite side of it is, I'm not sure it's feasible financially. Sorry to be a bit negative about it. It just doesn't seem feasible down in the Republic of Ireland at the moment. Everyone's going up to the Northern Ireland to...
It's not negative.
It's not negative.
It's a reality situation,
Big time, 100%. But
it's dead in Dublin. It's completely dead in Dublin. Without we had 2 Cage Warriors last year. We have 1 obviously coming up. But if Cage Warriors don't put on a show, there's no MMA in Dublin right now. And fair play to the lads fair play to Barry O'Callaghan and the lads in Elite FC, because I see they've already announced 4 shows for 2026. They're growing. They had 2 in 2025, and they're doing brilliant work, obviously serving in Cork. But the issue that we have is, you've got down at the bottom of the southwest of the country, and then up the north, there's a huge gap in the middle where there's just nothing. And we need shows in Dublin. In my opinion, I think we need shows everywhere, but it continues to worry me, because what happens if after 2026, if it doesn't work out for Elite and then they disappear, and then there's just nothing.
But you're just going to have this never-ending cycle of promotions who will be able to maybe run a handful of shows until what Caoilte says it becomes financially impossible to do so. And then they'll have to fall, and then someone else will try and start. And it's you want promotions to be able to build, right? You want to see them kind of grow into a position where they can kind of give young and up and coming amateurs and professionals those opportunities to kind of get experience as well. And it's not going to happen unless we kind of get some kind of sporting regulation, and unless we kind of get some possible backing from the government, perhaps. But it's not really.
Well, to be honest, and this is, let me choose my words very carefully here. The common theme that is talked about is the health and safety testing, which is very important and is a really good thing from the perspective of ensuring that fighters are kept safe. However, the reality on the ground is it creates a barrier where fighters just say, not going to do that, going to go up the north instead, and I'm going to compete there. So that combined, we're beating a dead horse here, but that combined with the insurance costs and the cost of everything to put it on, if you can't get fighters to come on your show, and you can't run it sustainably and not even profitably, but just not making a huge loss, then how can you be expected to? And sustainability, it just hasn't been there for a lot of shows. And the more established, I don't expect to see Cage Legacy next year. We could talk about that another day. But yeah, leave that there. But I don't expect to see them running a show this coming year. And there's a big gap. Big gap.
Big gap.
It's just to add to it. Obviously the Nationals, when we first started kind of doing the podcast, the Nationals was a lot bigger, and there was a bit. I don't even want to say it's the fact that we made it more of a deal of. I just think it had a lot more popularity. I think that entire side of things, the whole IMAF side of things, that amateur competition, because there was a lack of shows at the time. IMAF, going with the Irish team to the Super Cup to an IMAF competition was huge. However, I think over the last 2 years, and last year in particular, in my opinion, I think the interest in it decreased significantly, and there was a stark difference in the teams that I would have seen over the years compared to the ones that have gone over now in terms of numbers, people who've gone over. No disrespect to anyone who's gone over, they've done a fantastic job representing themselves in their country, but I don't think we've not seen the same level of a team gone over in the last year, which is a shame. Some people there do fantastic work with IMA, but I think the reality situation is some interest in it has declined around the country. One of those things I'm not too sure as to why that is. And
do you think it's just around Ireland, Caoilte? Obviously you have your ear to the ground with a little bit more than what I do when it comes to that amateur scene. Has it been is it an Ireland thing, or do you think that IMAF competitions in general have kind of, the interest has dwindled across a couple of nations? Obviously, there was, I think the UK, they separated themselves from IMAF as well.
So that's the best example you can use from a political standpoint. You think, I don't want to dwell on this one too much, from a political standpoint of things that would have happened going as back as far as, or disagreements or so on, as far back as 2023, you would have thought that the UK and England would not have sent as many members over to competitions. However, the squads they're sending over are insane. Their squad is one of the best consistently now, so they've put that aside and there's still a massive interest. However, in Ireland, the interest has died out, and it's really interesting. I'm not sure why it happened, and I sometimes think it might be the number, because nearly one positive has led to a negative. Because of all the shows that are happening and the opportunities to fight locally, without having to spend a lot of money to go abroad, has probably led people to deciding, okay, I'll fight up in Newry or FC, or go to Belfast or Clanmores or Cage Conflict, instead of pursuing this championship that's going to cost me 1,000, 2,000 euros to go and compete in. So I imagine that has something to do with it. But
and we don't have all the gyms. Bought in. That's the other issue.
Big time.
So,
divide.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously that's a kind of a topic of conversation that we could bring up or and chat about at any stage here. We have obviously a couple of times before. We could chat about it again for another.
It's just the same. Like it's the same.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. It's a little bit. There doesn't seem
having the same conversation over it. It's
there doesn't seem to be any level of progress there at all. And we'll obviously going into my next point, Danny McCormick, who announced her retirement, has ingrained herself into the kind of youth setup at IMA. I hope that, I don't want to kind of counter chickens before they hatch. I'd hope to reach out to Danny and organize an interview with her, maybe in an upcoming episode too, where she would be a great person to speak to about that, as well as to what she feels is happening, or if she has any information as to, what status we are at and the future of IMA and where they plan to go as well. So hopefully we can make that happen as well. Obviously we'll give a shout out to Danny now for announcing her retirement in the past couple of weeks. A fantastic career for her. Congratulations. Yeah, we'll give her a round of applause. Like I said, hopefully we can connect and we can bring Danny on for maybe more detailed chat about her career and her thoughts on retirement, etc. But she is a woman who gave us lots and lots of great moments for Irish mixed martial arts. A fantastic story coming in. As a person who, was over in Las Vegas for Conor McGregor fight and met John Kavanagh and said that she wanted to become a professional fighter and believed in herself, backed herself, and worked hard and didn't do it the easy way to get to where she wanted to be. And a couple of stumbling blocks along the way saw her getting into the opportunity in Invicta, becoming a 2-time Invicta world champion there. Knocked on the door in the UFC, won the road to the UFC, but was, in my opinion, wrongfully not given the opportunity to fight inside the octagon. But like I said, when I tweeted about her retirement, I think that decision will not define who Danny McCormick is as a fighter. I think she can be defined by someone who put the sport on a platform, who's a fantastic representative of Irish mixed martial arts and women's mixed martial arts as well in the country, and someone who is using that drive now to build up the young Irish mixed martial artists in the country as well. So it's very inspiring. So, a lot of great times, had a lot of great conversations with Danny throughout her career, and she'll definitely be missed, but I don't think she'll be going too far. I think she will be ingrained into the mixed martial arts community for many years to come, and hopefully we do get the opportunity to speak with her in an upcoming episode. Right now, guys, I think it's about time where we start talking about the draft. What do you think?
Well, I was going to say,
if you want to talk about Danny?
I think we've a bit. Yeah, I think we could chat about Danny a bit more. Like, because there was a good few fighters who retired in 2025, and I think it is important because we get people on and we chat about from their perspective. But like, you said it really well, Irene. Like, Danny had a phenomenal career, and like, her story is an incredible one, and she is someone who the youth in Ireland can look up to. And what I respect, one of the aspects of her career that I respect a lot is she always did it her way. So, when there were times where she could have zigged, when she could have zagged, or sought out certain fights, or been more bombastic on social media, this type of stuff. She kind of never really did that. She was just true to herself. And the moment, her pro debut was, she was supposed to maybe open the card, and then it was a case where her and Kieran Clark were like the curtain jerkers at the end, but then she ended up getting bumped up, so where she was the co-main event, in her pro debut, and at the time when it was sold out 3 arenas and it was hopping, so that was a great moment for her. And I loved when she won the belt on her birthday in Boston, and she gave that incredible post-fight speech where she talks about believing in herself and how she was just a young girl who didn't believe in herself, and now she does, and she's made herself proud. And like, if you're one of her students or any young girl coming up in martial arts, that they can now go and watch Danny McCormack's fight and watch that speech in the aftermath and be inspired by her to go and chase her dreams. And you're 100% correct, Dean. She was robbed of a UFC opportunity. She was brought in to lose against Kihi Yan on road to UFC, and she said fuck you to the UFC matchmakers, kicked down the door, did it her way, head first, nose first, blood and guts, and that's the type of fighter she was. And it's beautiful to see her now, transitioning into the role of she was called Mammy McCormack for a long time on the Irish amateur setup, I believe. So she's now fully embraced the Mammy McCormack role. For sure. And yeah, like we've kind of, from afar, we've watched her grow as a martial artist, but also, you're seeing people trying. She was Danny Nealon back when we first started covering her, and now she's got a different last name. She's a ma. So, I just wanted to say a few words on her there, because I think it's important we give fighters their flowers, because all of a sudden it's just, someone retires and there's another fight on the next week, and there's another fighter that we need to talk to, and it can be very easy for us to kind of, not by choice, but just kind of forget that to really give them their flowers. And we have some other fighters, and I'll stop talking now because I won't shut up. But like, we had Brian Moore, we had Dylan Tuke, we had Kiefer Crosby, we had Tiernan Loughran, all retiring this year. So I think we should give them their flowers today, because they all deserve it.
100%. Any thoughts, Caoilte?
Yeah, like, look, I guess on Danny McCormack, since we were speaking about her there, like, what a career. From, you guys have gone through it all perfectly already, from meeting John Kavanagh, going to the IMAF World Championships, win the silver medal, to in turn end up being coaching IMAF teams for Ireland years later on, and go and have this incredible career. She's always been gracious with her time, very, very, very helpful with everything, be it information regarding the IMAF, all that type of thing. Her own career, keeping people in the loop. Absolutely incredible. Really lovely person, very gracious with her time with us as well. And just had this kind of proven us wrong constantly, built up this record. Was it 5-0? Had this little bad spell then, but then just came out joining Invicta and making history in Invicta, winning the title, defending the title, and then proving everyone wrong as she did the road to the UFC. And like you said, Ian, won't defy the fact that she never made it there. Won't define her. She did everything she could. It's one of those that's the UFC's loss. She had an amazing career. She'll be proud of it, and she'll be forever. Well, I think Paddy Hewlin said it to us before. Is like, you'll always be first But everyone's going to be, so she'll always be the first Irish women's Invicta champion, and no one can ever take that away from her. So fair play. What a career. And it's been a joy to follow.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'll always say it. And one of my favorite interviews I ever did all the time was when I spoke with her. You lads were there behind the camera at SBG. After she won the Invicta title, where we both sat down there for a great conversation. It was like, it's one that stuck out to me and will stick out to me for forever, really, to be honest. It's great for us, to be able to share those moments with fighters as well. We've all experienced that, but that's definitely one that sticks out to me. And hopefully we'll get to speak with her soon. And we wish her all the best in retirement. And fair play to Danny McCormack. Draft time. It's time to start falling out with each other, lads. Right, what we'll do here, Andy.
There's not another topic we can go on to here.
I'm cooked so badly here.
So
what's the draft? I don't know what that is, to be honest. What's the draft?
The draft was a fantastic idea.
Like a draft Guinness, or
I'm looking forward to this conversation myself. Actually, I want to give you lads a little bit of time, maybe, to discuss your teams and what obviously it was a competition. At the end of the day, we have to maybe decide which team we thought probably did the best throughout the year of 2025. The 2026 draft obviously will be coming on the next episode of the Auld Triangle podcast. Prepare yourselves for that. Wild scenes last year as Andy tried to cheat and goad and wiggle his way into kind of securing the best team in Irish mixed martial arts. Didn't really
don't know about that now, Ian. Do you want to maybe explain for the three new listeners we gained this year what the draft is?
The draft was basically done by us at the start of 2025, where we, kind of used a similar enough kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Kind of like style of draft that they do in North American sports, where, we each
picked selected fighters. We selected fighters who we thought were going to do great that year.
Yeah, for sure. And we picked 8 fighters in total, even though I do notice that there are some names missing off the list provided here on the document. I have questions about that, to be honest. If we look at the official draft, they don't quite match up. I do see only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fighters on your list when we picked 8 fighters. 2, 4, 6 on mine. I'm not quite sure. Are we? I don't know.
I have one more on this list as well now.
Yeah.
Still not doing me any favors, but
questions around that. I would have to say myself, maybe a little bit of maybe self-preservation going on there, maybe perhaps, but nonetheless, Caoilte, we'll start with your team. Run through your team and give us your thoughts on how they did in 2025.
Yeah, so I guess, do I have my full team here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7 here. I think maybe just 7.
I would check.
I think it was 7.
The Instagram has the correct list.
Oh, I have to go looking for it.
I'll look for it here. I
think actually I know who's missing from mine. I think I know him. Is Dylan Chuk missing from mine compared to our document here?
I believe so. I'll stick it into our WhatsApp group there real quick.
So
here it is here. I'll read it out. So Caoilte had Alex Keogh, Dom Norcus, Lee Hammond, Jared Burns, Nadine Abbott-Bissett, John Mitchell, Jake Nye, Dylan Chuk.
So I guess looking back in the year, Alex Keogh, very strong year, SevereMMA Amateur Fighter of the Year after winning the IMF European Championships, going 3-0, very, very solid, showing the tournament. And I believe he's going pro this year in the next month. Is it going to be a Cage Warriors, I believe? So really excited to see what he's done. He had a very, very good year. Dom Norcus started the year off as he left it before, won his first fight, and then he suffered the first loss of his professional career, and we haven't seen him since. But a solid outing for Dan, one of those I had learned from. I also had Lee Hammond. Lee didn't compete this year. One of those that we might try and find out and see what he's up to, and hopefully see him in 2027, or 2026. But no fight there, so no score for me there. Jared Burns, what a year he had, despite losing the title fight against Mokaev. Went 1-0 in a tough fight before that, and then had that, was it not headline fight, co-headliner with Mokaev for the title, which ultimately he lost. But to make it to that moment and to set that fight up was huge for him. But 1-1 there for me. Nadine Ababisset, after coming back after having a baby, she went 0-1. I believe that fight was a Cage Conflict, lads, I could be mixing it up now, but went 0-1 in that one this year. So, and then John Mitchell 1-1 mixed bag, and he also had two boxing fights, which I'll be clinging on to when I'm trying to argue my case here.
Come on now, no way. Come on.
What would you say your team's highlights were this year, Caoilte, out of curiosity?
Okay, Alex Keogh, that has to be it. Going undefeated in the way he did it. I think Dom Norks' first fight, John Mitchell's first fight, and I reckon there's not much wins there to cling on to Andy. So, but yeah, probably those three there that I've mentioned. Dylan Shue didn't compete this year, so that's another one.
I wonder, do we get minus points if a fighter on your list retires?
And then I'm extra screwed here then.
Just asking the question. Just putting it out there.
I thought Andy was cursed when it came to this draft, but
whoa. I clearly won the draft, so don't know what you're talking about, pal.
Thought we had the curse with your captain.
Well, Andy, go on. Say your piece here. Good segue here. Time to share your highlights here. Why do you think you should? You should.
Sure, I have my. Just let me consult my my document here, which I prepared for 4 hours today. Okay, so my team consisted. So Caoilte's team clearly absolutely terrible. Third place, no doubt about that. Andy's team number 1, of course. And I had Nathan Kelly, Solomon Simon, Amran Shaban, Georgi Grosjev, Damien McGuigan, Andreas Binder, Emer Darcy, and Jared Ryan. And what a team, to say the least. So we had a, towards the start of the year, I believe I announced the captain of my team, Nate Kelly. And to be fair, Nate had a pretty fucking quality year. Like he did suffer a submission loss early on, but he picked it back up from there. So he had a phenomenal round 1 win over Antonio Torremino, and he followed that up with a brilliant fight, and I'd say fight of the year contender, picking up a title against Ricky De Araujo. And so 2-1 the year. I feel like he's had a fantastic year. So as captain, I feel like he's led the way, 2-1 on the year. And, that's got to count for something, is what I would say.
Sorry, I missed that. Who's your captain?
Nate Kelly.
Nate Kelly in PFL, you mean?
No.
Nate Kelly. Nate the Great Kelly.
No.
This is what I mean.
We'll have to pull out the internet.
What are you talking about?
I am. If anyone listening, I'm shaking the finger at Andy Stevenson here.
I have Nate Kelly. If you look at the graphic, sorry, Nathan Kelly. That's what Nate is short for, Nathan, lads. Do you not know that?
No. You're trying to pull the bull over. Don't insult the intelligence of us here with you, Andy, and our audience here now as well. Nathan Kelly, not to be mixed up with
Nathan Kelly fighting out of SPG, right?
No, we won't have it.
Right. Anyway, so that's clearly 2-1 there for me, for the captain Nate the Great Kelly. All right, listen, I had Nathan Kelly. I love you, Nathan. You're still my captain. 0-3. You've really fucked me here for this draft, I have to say. More than anything, like how you feel, your career, irrelevant to me today as I try to argue this. So we didn't have a good start. Now we pick it back up. Solomon Simon, 2-0 in the year, Cage Warriors champion, one of the best Irish fighters going right now, has looked phenomenal. He had that emphatic win in Dublin where he put his opponent on skates. He follows it up. He wins the title. He sets up a humongous fight against against Nick Bagney now coming up this year. We're going to be probably in the UFC in a couple of months. So a huge member of the Team Stevenson stable here. Arman Shaban went 3-0 on the year. If you look at his record for the year, you've got round one Darce, another round one beat Wellington Madeira by leg kicks in less than a minute. 3-0 in the year, unblemished, undefeated. That's what we do in Team Stevenson. Then we have, I'm have to lose my place in the thing here. Damien McGuigan, the Wonder Boy, the SevereMMA 2024 Amateur of the Year. He goes and does it again. 1-0 as a pro, obliterates his opponent up in Belfast. And let me tell you, the only reason this lad's not 7-0 already is because Pat McAllister and Liam Shannon told us this. They said they're going to take 11 months. They're going to, let him go, let him get his training in, and then we're going to go pro. So you can't, he's 1-0, but he will be 7-0. If they'd have taken a different approach there, that's really a coaching decision. That you can't blame me for that. So
well, look at it. If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle too, Andy. You know what I mean?
But does she have balls?
No, she doesn't.
Okay, well then there you go. Georgi Grosjev, 1-1 on the year. Now listen, he did suffer a loss, but Kieran Brady is phenomenal. We know how skilled Kieran Brady is. We've seen him. Great fighter. It was a fight for the ages on Ur, back and forth. He almost finished himself a couple of times, and he rebounded off that minor blip with a first round rear naked choke on LFA over in Spain. I think that was against Santiago Paiva, a guy who had double the number of pro fights that he had. So a great win there. Another one for me. Then we have Emer Darcy. Emer had let me just look up her. Emer Darcy. I think she went 3-0 or something. 1-2. Okay, 3-0, 1-2, same thing. She had a really good win over Justina Kulinska in Dublin. Tough outings against Sanchez and Richkovic. So okay, I'll give you that one. Andreas Binder is on my team as well. Did Andreas fight this year? Was he in tough? Oh God, this is bad.
He was in the Ultimate Fighter, I believe.
He was in the Ultimate Fighter, and he fought, and okay, so that was the only thing that happened this year for Andreas, but he's coming back. Let me tell you, he's coming back. He got to the Ultimate Fighter in 2025 is what I would say. So he got there, and he was on the Ultimate Fighter. Really great platform, great show, always said it. And finally, Jared Ryan.
How much of the Ultimate Fighter season did you watch this year, Andy? Who won it?
It was the fellow in the red and white shirt.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah.
And Jared Ryan actually had a great year. 2-1. Lost to Michael Shields. No shame in that. Michael Shields probably one of the best amateurs in the country. Beat Jason Streen and a really solid fighter for a title. Won the Ur title. So ultimately, my team's great.
Great, but not the best. Team O'Neill, obviously, for me, I think shone above all of the other teams. Couple of really great performances. No fighter. We'll start off with team captain Paddy McCurry, 2-0. Obviously had a chance on Dana White's Contenders Series. Didn't happen for him there. Coming back, great win in Cage Warriors.
He didn't get through that one, no.
He didn't get through that one, Andy, but did finish the year with a winning record and is fighting for a Cage Warriors middleweight title in 2026 as well. So I think there's a lot to be said for that. I think, in all due honesty, I'm looking at the entire my team here, and if I could keep everybody on my team for 2026, I would do that. And I don't know whether you guys could say the same thing here, but moving on down to Conor McCarthy, 2 fantastic wins in Cage Warriors as well. Looking really, really impressive against tough competition. Former Amateur of the Year for mixed martial arts, Irish mixed martial arts on SevereMMA.com. I think he's a phenomenal prospect. He's going to have an absolutely massive 2026 as well. Sean O'Bannon, we just talked about her, lads. Comeback of the year, 50k bonus. Went 1-1 for the year, but an absolutely, severe MMA females fighter of the year. And the accolades we spoke about with Sean O'Ballon speak for themselves. The king of Octagon, Will Fleury, picked up a heavyweight title in 2025 and absolutely destroyed Martin Buday. I mean, I feel bad at this stage if I have to continue about the rest of
them. No, please do. No, you've got a few other fighters on your team here now, pal.
Yeah, I know. Kyle Sullivan, look at 3-1 IMAF European champion. Absolutely phenomenal year for Kaya. Okay, went out, made a professional debut, didn't work out, but fought absolutely stellar competition.
Were those amateur fights in 2025? Hang on,
yes, they absolutely were. Yeah. Absolutely, they were. Absolutely, unequivocally, they were.
It appears they were, according to Topology.
Yeah, absolutely, they were. Yeah. Any other questions, Andy? Any other questions? Shall I continue? Thank you. Leon Hill, another phenomenal year for the Team KF fighter. I mean, performances headlining the big Cage Warriors Dublin show, finishing that fight with an absolutely tremendous reception from the Dublin crowd out there. Momentous scenes as he was smothered by the Irish audience there and thrusted upon the shoulders of his supporters in one of the standout moments of Cage Warriors, and obviously Max Lally as well.
You've skipped. I'm looking at your list here. You skipped someone, I think.
There's a list that's on the document here. I
think you said look at the Instagram post. Did you not?
Oh, in the Instagram post. Yeah. Graham Sheehan. That's who I
great
missed.
Guy.
Yeah, great. Guy.
I would for the record, I would never forget you, Graham Sheehan, ever. But Ian just did.
No,
fact, he admitted you. He's ashamed of you, Graham, and he's left you out of his team. That's what's happened here.
I don't
know what kind of ship team O'Neill runs here, but I'm proud of my Nathan Great Kelly. I'm still proud of.
I'm still proud of Graham Sheehan too. We're going through the positive vibes first, right? And then we were going to.
No, but I want to hear your negative vibes. Though.
We're just going to talk about the one tiny, minuscule, like minuscule, the tip of a pen, kind of a little bit of a blip that my team had this year. And that was obviously, Graham Sheehan. It didn't work out in his professional debut. But, we're still proud to have him on here in Team O'Neill. He's a fantastic prospect as well. And will go on to do some great things as well. In Irish mixed martial arts.
Just not proud enough to name.
Well, no, Andy, you just didn't let me finish, to be honest, because I was too busy talking about, some of the success that my team had. And if you would let me finish, I was speaking about Max Lally, who had another tremendous year, one of the fights of the year in Cage Warriors. An absolutely fantastic finish in his Cage Warriors debut. I mean, there could be some other accolades coming his way, maybe not. I don't know. There's still lots of things to be discussed, but
best mullet of the year, maybe.
Yeah, the mullet of the year, went over there and trained with Volkanovski. Team O'Neill. Team O'Neill fighters.
Volkanovski. No, but hang on though. Hang on. Did Volkanovski lose this year? He won the title again.
He's the UFC.
Hang on. Hold on. Let me come up with an angle here for a second.
You're going to have to try hard. You're going to have to try hard.
I thought that Tapori was last year. I was gonna say that Lally's in his camp. He should really take that loss too. But let's just forget about that because it doesn't count for the win.
Anyway, last but not least, until Andy was trying to gaslight me there and to say I was forgetting somebody. Graham Sheehan obviously started his mixed martial arts career this year as well. Went 0-1, but fought a very, very legit fighter in Marek Yakimowicz, who's now 7-2. You know what I mean? So coming in as a 0-0 prospect, fighting a guy at that time who was 5-2. It's not an easy task. And look at he was unlucky. Off. And he will be back and he will do great things. And overall, I think I'm after 10-7 in the two you guys, lads, when it comes to the draft this year. There's always next year. There's always 2026. You can look at what I did this year in 2025. You can use it as an example. You can bring it into the draft on the next episode. And, I don't mind if you want to kind of, copy me or
I think the people should decide. I don't think you've just sown this. So I think the people should decide.
So what you want to do is make this a popularity contest.
I think the people should decide.
Andy with the most followers on Instagram will and Twitter wants to turn this into a popularity contest.
I think
we can't come
to agreement. So we need the
this.
people to decide.
No.
But listen, you're living in the past, mate. That's all I know. Was it 11th of January? We're still doing lists from last year. Who cares? No one cares anymore. Everyone's moved on. 2026. And as you said, next episode we'll do the 2026 draft. And as Ian has already proclaimed on this here very episode, he's going to choose the exact same team for next year. So Caoilte and I will draft. Ian, his team's locked in. And if he changes from that narrative, well, then I'd be looking at him sideways if I was one of those fighters. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no problem. I'll stand on business. I'll stand on business, lads.
Look, I'll be honest. Ian, you won the draft. You won the 2025 draft. You absolutely smoked us. Now, Caoilte choosing someone who didn't even fight is
and the other retired.
Pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's cursed here.
I think in terms of whoever we all picked, it was all a fairly decent lineup, but yeah,
I think we're all pretty happy with it. I mean, I think we've a keen eye. Caoilte picked. So like Dom Norcus, to be fair, let's go to we can look at each other's ones and say nice things. Alex Caoilte, phenomenal year, SevereMMA Amateur of the Year. For Caoilte. Dom Norcus obviously had a tough loss, but we expect massively high things for him. Lee Hammond's just it's the wild card. You never know when he's going to fight, so it's impossible to say.
But you would have thought at the start of the year that we would have seen him once or twice. So it'd be I
think I saw him teasing the fight there. You can pick him again. Caoilte's teasing the fight.
I might do just because, It's like, don't
fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Kind of a job that one would be. Solomon Simon on your team, Andy, obviously
great pick.
Fantastic pick there. He had a tremendous year and obviously a massive fight at the start of the year here, coming up against Nick Bagley as well. Damien McGuigan, as you rightfully said, I think it's a lack of inactivity that would have saw him, only go 1-0 this year, but he's going to have a massive 2026 as well. Lots of great picks there throughout. So fair play to all of us.
I mean, you're Will Fleury, Conor McCarthy, Paddy McCarry, Max.
I mean, I was actually. I'm not going to lie, lads. I'm not going to lie. At the start of the year, after I left that draft, I was like, "Holy fuck! How did I get all of these fighters?" But there we are.
So, what do we want to do? I think we should do this on the podcast right now.
Okay.
So, are we going 8 again, or do we want to? Do we want to expand it? Do we want to go? So I think last year what we said is you have to have a female fighter, you have to have an amateur, and the rest you can do whatever. I think is what we
limit is.
So. I would argue as
one per gym, wasn't it?
I make one suggestion as well that we're allowed one keeper.
What?
One keeper on our team. So
so you get dibs for them.
Keep one person on your team.
Ooh, I actually like that. Right, so
I'll take that.
That's kind of fantasy football style, right?
Yeah. All right, so hang on. So let's write this down before we forget it. No, we will listen to it back. All right, so you get one keeper, so you can keep you automatically get dibs before the draft happens. Is that what we're saying?
That's right.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
And then
only people that are on your team now, is it?
Yeah, so before the draft starts, what we would announce is we can announce one keeper for each of our teams, one person on our team that we have currently that we're going to keep, and then everybody else goes back into the draft.
How about this? Let's do one keeper, but let's keep. So we'll do 8 right now. Let's do 9 total.
Yeah.
So we'll do 1, and then 8 more. So we keep 1, and then we pick 8 new. So last year we said it had to be one fighter from every gym. Was that it?
Yeah. You couldn't have more than one from the same gym. But if they trained
like SPG Nace and SPG Ireland or Team Rhino Waterford, Team Rhino, HQ, etc., that's fine. All right. Here's the big one, though. I think we should change. Every fighter is on the table. Ian Gary, Paul Hughes, doesn't matter. We said Ian and Paul weren't allowed last year. That's gone.
Let's bring him in. Yeah, I'm
That's
happy with
good,
that.
yeah.
So then the next question is, how do we decide the draft order?
Loser gets first pick.
As the winner of 2025, I mean, come on, lads. What are we doing here?
Well, whoa.
What are we doing here? Like,
I think in order
I
to
would have
level
tried
the
harder
playing
if
field,
we
you go
knew that.
3, 2, and then 1 for in terms of picks.
I don't know what. So
I
you're
think-
getting rewarded for.
It's
getting
to
rewarded
live,
for-
it's to even things up a little bit. So you're, especially since you have a keeper from this year.
If you're
We just
listening to this, stick up an idea on Instagram or something and just tag us in it. And
Yeah.
we need to figure out a way to do a draft order. Keep in mind we are in, I was about to say two separate countries, so anything that would require us to be in person is not possible.
It's not going to happen. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to, I don't know, we'll figure something out.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah, we leave that on the table.
Something fair and square. Yeah.
We'll do that. Obviously, yeah, that'll be the next episode in 2 weeks' time. The big 2026 draft. We're looking forward. We're looking forward to that one. Okay, about wraps up episode 97 of the Auld Triangle. One more very, very, very important thing to do. The most prestigious award in Irish mixed martial arts. That's what the critics are saying. It is the Auld Triangle of the Year award, presented by the Auld Triangle, obviously announced by the man himself, Caoilte Barra, who assessed all of the victories and all of the fighters that have won by a triangle choke in Irish mixed martial arts in the year 2025. We pick the best one, and we award them the Auld Triangle of the Year to get a piece of Auld Triangle swag. If Andy has the piece of swag, it is a hoodie. The winner will likely get it in 2027, 2028, maybe, perhaps.
I didn't hear anything about this hoodie now. That's slander here.
Oh, yeah.
So, Andy, you have your phone up here. What are we talking about?
No, I'm just getting a drum roll ready for Caoilte in a minute. But who won it last
right.
Caoilte?
Jack Maguire last year with that triangle choke in Octagon when he went against Rusal, I believe the guy's name is. Jack was nearly finished twice, and then Rusal fell into the.
This is the third year, right?
So we had Kikyo, we had Jack Maguire, and now we have this year the winner of 2025.
It was Jordan Bradshaw, I believe, wasn't it?
What was it? I presented Keith an award for something.
Oh, it's the fourth. Is it not the fourth year? Yeah, it's the fourth year. Jordan Bradshaw, Keith Keogh, and Jack Maguire, and now this is year 4, isn't it?
Wow. You let me know when you want to.
Here we go.
You do your speech and then leave a gap, and this is great sound engineering here. I'll just press on YouTube, drum roll sound effect.
And there'll be an ad that will start playing. But
yes,
the prestigious Auld Triangle of the Year award. It's a tough competition. Especially there was no kind of Jack Maguire moments, but there was a huge win this year, and I guess the moment of this one too made it a hell of a lot better. It was on this person's Cage Warriors debut, a tough opponent, and he goes in there in front of a home crowd, pulls off an Auld Triangle in front of the Dublin crowd in the RDS at Cage Warriors 194. Max Alley. Oh, sure what he said now. Max Alley.
That
was absolutely terrible.
Caoilte did not get the drum roll guide reference there.
No. Forgot about that.
Max Alley. Congratulations, Max Alley, Auld Triangle of the Year winner in 2025. Well deserved, Caoilte. Fantastic decision there. Well done to Max. Well done for the breakdown there of who won it, and well done to everybody who pulled off an Auld Triangle choke in 2025. But obviously, massive congratulations to Max Lally. Max over in Thailand now, actually, so he definitely won't be needing hoodies over there, but he might need it when he comes back to Ireland.
I might need to give you the hoodie to give to him, Andy. Oh no, he'll be back for Cage Warriors, won't he?
For fuck's sake, not again.
So I'm
What's
actually
that?
be
Yeah,
back for
yeah.
Cage Warriors. So
Give it to him up at Cage Warriors event. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll get on to him there. I have the hoodie there already.
I'll get it to him in about December, right? That's all I'm committing to.
yeah, perfect. Awesome. Nice one, lads. Well, that wraps up episode 97 of the Auld Triangle podcast. We look forward to kicking off another year of the Auld Triangle. We're coming up on episode 100, which is crazy to think. You know, we started off this podcast a couple of years ago, and you know, we're very glad to have everybody still listening in with us, and anybody that's new. Obviously, thanks for the support of everybody throughout the year of 2025, and the growth of the podcast in 2025. We hope we can have some continued growth in 2026. If you do like this podcast, if you know somebody who is interested in mixed martial arts or Irish mixed martial arts in general, you know, shared with them. Give us a 5-star review on Spotify. Give us a like on our YouTube channel, SevereMMA YouTube channel. Whatever podcast.
Sponsors, give us some money.
Give us some money, yeah. Give us some money. Where the food at, fam? Where the food at? And I guess all that there is left for us to do for the first time in 2026 is for Caoilte to see us out.
Gurmín Mahagov agus Slán go fóill.